Hey folks, Poverty Point Customs here. What we're going to do today is change the oil and filter on my 20 horsepower Honda 4-stroke Outboard. We're also going to change the gear oil in the lower end as well as a fuel filter. So what you're going to need is your engine oil. I'm actually using a 5W30 fully synthetic oil. I've checked with the Honda dealership and they said that this is fine. I'm using an 80W90 gear oil. You have to make sure it's a GL4 or GL5 rated oil, and this is perfect for our climate. You're going to need some needle nose, something to take your oil filter off, a flathead, a Phillips, something to drain the oil into. This is your Honda oil filter, and this is the fuel filter. What you're going to do first is run your engine for a few minutes to get the all the fluids warmed up. So we're going to pop off the top. So you're going to have to take out this pin. You're going to take off this little locking bracket. Then you're going to have to remove a Phillips screw here, 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 and right there. What this is going to do is take off the side cover to the starboard side of your motor. That way you can access your oil filter, which is buried right in there. And when you're pulling your side cover off, you have to disconnect these two hoses, and you'll have to reconnect them when you reinstall this. And you can see how much access you have once the side cover's off. So here's your oil filter, your oil fill, your oil drain. Put your bucket underneath, and what I like to do before I crack this open is I'm actually going to tilt the motor over a little bit. That way the oil is going to come out this way and not run down most of the motor. While that's draining, we're just going to clean off our plug, and we're going to check our O-ring and replace if necessary. And I actually tilted the motor all the way down to get any remaining oil out. So what you're going to do is clean off this surface here and reinstall your drain plug. Next, we're going to remove the oil filter. This is where it's going to get a little bit messy. Before we install the new oil filter, you're going to want to clean this surface and make sure that the other old gasket's not stuck to it. And you're going to get out your new oil filter. What I always do is I put a little bit of oil in here, and then you're also going to want to put some oil around your gasket. Now, as you notice, I filled this up. A lot of it's being sucked into the actual material in the filter. So what we're going to do is install this. Don't over tighten either. So on the back of the motor, it's calling for 10W30 API, SG, H, and J rating. I talked to the Honda dealership and they said using a 5W30 fully synthetic is what most of the dealerships are switching over to now, instead of using a 10W30 conventional. So you're going to want to put your motor all the way down, that way it's nice and level. So we're going to start off by putting roughly a liter in. This is your dipstick right here, so don't overfill it. So what I'm doing is I'm filling it till I see it showing at the fill point on the dipstick, and then what you're going to do is run it for probably 30 seconds or so, and then you're going to top up as necessary, because right now the oil filter probably only has half of the oil, and again, a lot of people don't pre-fill their filter, so it would have none, so you're always going to have a little bit of loss when it fills up the oil filter. All right, and it's right at the full point. Again, you're going to run this and then top up as necessary. Alright, so what we're going to do next is change the gear oil in our lower end unit. So what you're going to do is remove your oil level plug, and then you're going to remove your fill plug, and that's going to allow it to drain out. While we're waiting for that to drain, it's a good time to grease your grease fittings. Alright, so we're going to fill the gear case till it starts coming out of the oil level at the top, and once it starts coming out of there, we're going to put this on, and then we're going to put the bottom screw in. And you're going to clean off your plugs. Alright, so the gear oil is done. So before we run the engine to check the oil level, what we're going to do first is change the fuel filter. Again, here's the new filter. I got this through Honda. So what you're going to do is pop off these two clips, take out your old filter, and then you're going to put this protective cover on your new filter, and then you're going to reinstall it. And there we go. As you can see, there's a arrow for flow going towards the motor from the fuel tank. It's surprising how many people actually don't take the time to change these filters. I think this was just under $15, a little bit pricey, but well worth it, because the amount of stuff that gets sucked in from your fuel tank into here is quite a bit. So before I put all the covers back on, we're going to run it. We're going to check for leaks. And then once we run it, we're going to top up the oil. Alright, so we ran the motor for a few minutes there, and I had to top up the oil. It was just above the low mark. So what I like to do before I button everything up is, you have all your cables and whatnot, you want to make sure that they're nice and lubed. And you can also go over with a little bit of grease there too. And this oil has a little bit of a rust inhibitor in it, so it will protect your motor from any of the salt water. Our river is fresh water, but it does have a little bit of salt in it, so you want to make sure everything's nice and protected. So we'll go through and make sure everything's nice and coated with a fine mist oil. And you're always just checking for leaks. I don't see any. Even check your fuel filter. What we'll do next is put the side cover back on. Once you have all the screws in, you're going to reinstall your pin. This holds the back of your engine cover on. And you can put your cover on. It's also a good time to check your anode. This one here is actually in really good condition. If you need to replace this, it's just literally one bolt you got to take out, and a nut on this side. One thing you can also do is pop off your propeller and put some grease on your propeller shaft. It's just a matter of taking out this cotter pin, taking off this nut, popping off the prop, putting a little bit of grease on it, and then reinstalling it. Other than that, she's ready to go. I've checked the spark plugs, which are on this side underneath the cover. There's two of them. They're actually in really good shape, so I'm not going to worry about those. But to do this maintenance, this literally takes 10 or 15 minutes, and it's certainly something that you can do yourself. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe and thumbs up button. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you post them below. If not, I really appreciate you watching. Take care.